Hello everyone, this is Kaiyu Shao. It's a great honor for us to receive this Best Critical Business Ethics Paper Award from CMS. We are happy to take this opportunity to introduce our paper in this video. This paper is part of my doctoral dissertation at Kaiyu, collaborating with my supervisor, Professor Maddy Janssens. It has also been revised since our submission to AOM annual meeting, and we would like to present the paper in its most updated form. The phenomenon that draws our attention is that multinational corporations increasingly communicate about their socially responsible behaviors, not only in the more traditional form such as CSR report or annual report, but also in the more visually abundant, digitalized, multimodal forms such as PowerPoint and videos. The literature of CSR communication is going through a performative term. Early literature is built in a representational paradigm, seeing CSR talk as a representation of CSR work, though not necessarily authentic. Mostly in the last decade, a performative wheel has emerged, stimulating awareness that CSR talk is not merely instrumentally transmitting a pre-existing CSR practice, but rather constituting such practice. More recently, scholars started to reconsider the CSR work-talk division and forwarded a talking perspective, understanding CSR as a communication-born phenomenon, as a mediating and negotiating space. Will such a performative turn undoubtedly advance our understanding of CSR communication? What we notice missing is the attention to power. Nevertheless, precisely as a negotiating and mediating space, CSR communication and its performativity cannot be fully understood without attending to power. To further advance the performative transition, to understand the nexus between performativity, power, and CSR communication, we turn to the theory of Judith Butler. We find her theory on performativity particularly relevant for this study, as a concern for power is built in her conceptualization. For Butler, performativity is primarily about the constitution of subjects, where the subject who speaks is also constituted by the language that he or she speaks. Such an understanding of performativity is also in line with the observation that even when addressing an external audience, the corporation themselves are perhaps the most delicate receiver of their CSR communication. Power, according to Butler, is embedded in such practice, where we become a subject precisely by subordinating by power. In other words, it is power that made us who we are. Following such conceptualization and understanding CSR communication as a political project of subjectification, we thus formulate our first research question to explore how the subject of multinational as responsible actor is constituted. Meanwhile, subjectification does not take place in a vacuum, but within certain social historical contexts. Butler approached the embeddedness of subjectification, in particular its interaction with prior norms and power structure, with the concept of iteration. She indicates that performativity does not lie in a single act or speech, but rather the repeated act that reiterate or set existing norms and discourse. From this, we argue that performativity of CSR communication has to be understood through its repeated citation of the norm-infested discourse, and thus forward our second research question, which explored the CSR communication citation of such discourse. Meanwhile, noticing the prevalence of multimodality in organizational life, and also, as indicated by previous studies, that visual and multimodality have several unique features or affordance, such as its appeal to emotions, its holistic and nuanced constructions, the factual-like nature of pictures and videos, which, as we see, all have power implications. We in this study thus also attend to the multimodal construction of power in CSR communication. To this aim, we turn to the CSR videos of reputable multinational corporations spread on their official website or official YouTube channel. Altogether, 55 videos from 10 multinational corporations are analyzed. Given the novelty of multimodal analysis, we developed our own critical semiotic multimodal analysis, drawing on the tradition of both social semiotics and critical discourse analysis. In a first step, we conduct within-case multimodal analysis. Building on the visual and verbal grammar by Krantz and Van Leeuwen, we developed a 17-dimensional analytical framework. Let's take two visual dimensions as example. Horizontal camera angle, which indicates the power status of the filmed actor, whereas an eye-level angle indicates equal power relations. Low level forwards the powerfulness of the actor, and high level the powerlessness. Camera move. When the camera moves following the actors, it indicates the agency of the actor, while the camera initiate move indicate the will of the filmmaker or the lack of agency of the filmed actor. Code each of the video from this 17 analytical dimension. We developed sound knowledge on how the actor, action, purpose of the CSR project, and the relation between the actors and with the audience are constructed. Based on such detailed multimodal analysis, we, in a second step, critically interpret each video in terms of the cited discourse, the construction of the multinationals, and the local communities. Cross-case comparison was conducted in the third step, resulting in 3 subjects of multinational corporations as responsible actors. For each of the subjects, we also further analyze its power facet in terms of, first, its articulation of an unfair relationship between the multinationals, the local community, and the audience, and second, the business ideology's appropriation of the pro-social discourse. As said, 3 subjects emerged from our analysis. First, we identify a subject of the multinational as the hero, which is constituted within a discourse of restoring basic human rights, where the multinational's products is constructed as the embodiment of such rights. The multinational corporation is subjectified as the capable agentic leader who comes to the remote village to rescue the miserable, passive local community. Second, a subject of the multinational as a passionate missionary, which is constituted within a discourse of a universal future of human development, where such a future is envisioned centered around the multinational's main business, such as a future of high technology or certain business mode. Here, the multinational corporation is subjectified as a supportive and determined missionary who guides the few selected agentic local individuals to fight their local context, to dismiss or conquer all the opposition, not understanding, and even obstruction from the passive, stubborn local majority, and eventually to join that promised future. Last, our analysis also reveals a subject of the multinational corporation as the architect, which is constituted within a discourse of individual self-actualization, enabled by the multinational corporation's products, of course. Here, the multinational corporation is subjectified as the invisible designer, whose will is embedded in the infrastructure it provides to the local community, that is, its products. And it is the happy, agentic, local individuals who exert such will of the multinationals in their project of self-actualization, such as using Google search to find knowledge to change their own life. Based on these findings, we further theorized on the impossibility of constituting responsible subjects through CSR communication. For one thing, through the articulation of an unfair relationship, where the multinational corporation plays a superior master role, the CSR communication gives birth to a narcissistic self of the business, who would act according to the constituted belief regarding itself and the other. Meanwhile, the subject of the business as responsible actor, as shown in our findings, is still constituted within the business ideology. To conclude, Zhou and Butler, our study allows us to see the systemic limits of CSR, that a socially responsible company turns out to be performatively constituted in a very economic system that is not supposed to facilitate non-economic ends. Nevertheless, Butler also argues that norms and power structure is not unchangeable. Rather, she insists that to break with the prior context and to negotiate space is precisely the political promise of the performative. Here, we engage with that political promise to renegotiate the social context within which the responsible subject is constituted by proposing alternative multimodal CSR communication. We call for example, a predominant use of eye-level camera angle. Let's decontextualize the visual construction of the actor, better demonstration of the other's agency, no doubling of the other's voice and less celebratory background music. We hope by raising the visual and multimodal literacy of both the business and the public, and therefore changing how CSR is multimodally constructed and communicated, we may stand a better chance to bypass the limits of the communication-born phenomena of CSR. Okay, this is a brief introduction to our paper, and thank you for watching our video.